Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share a deeply personal story about a past relationship that taught me some tough, yet invaluable lessons about love, trust, and self-worth. Imagine being accused of something you didn't do, only to find out later that the accuser was guilty of the same thing, and more. This story is about emotional manipulation, heartbreak, and ultimately, finding the strength to walk away from someone who couldn't give me the love and respect I deserved. So, grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's dive into this emotional journey together. Story number one. I was accused of cheating and found out a year later he was cheating. I've been working through the emotions of a breakup that happened a little over a year ago. I dated someone for a year and a half, and we had an on and off dynamic because I kept breaking up with him, hoping he'd change. Every time he was emotionally unavailable, unwilling to take responsibility for his role in the relationship, or refused to meet me halfway, I would leave, only to return, hoping things would be different. When we first met, I saw him as kind, sweet, compassionate, and loving. But over time, those traits faded, leaving me feeling emotionally abandoned during some of the most difficult times in my personal life. I thought breaking up and getting back together would make him realize what I needed. It didn't. When I finally ended the relationship for good, I told him our values were different, and he accepted it, or so I thought. A month later, he started showing up at places he knew I'd be. At some point between breaking up, I found out that I was also scammed by a mutual acquaintance of ours that was talking to my ex at the time. This person scammed me and my friends of thousands of dollars in a hedge fund scam. I found out and talked to the police, the FBI, and a PI. After confirming it was true, I called my ex to tell him, and he wasn't interested in listening about it. He was more concerned about if we were going to get back together, and that it didn't seem to matter to him, because we're not together anymore. I was heartbroken, and it solidified that we would never be getting back together. I started seeing someone else shortly after breaking up as I needed support and was hysterical about it, the scam. I went to events, parties, and other gatherings with the scammer, so I wasn't feeling great about myself at how naive I had been. Finally, after dodging many outings with friends, I show up to an event that I knew my ex was going to be at. At this event, when we were alone, he asked, "When are we going to get back together?" I told him, "We're not getting back together. I'm sorry, but I'm seeing someone else now." I said this to make it clear there was no going back, especially since he had shown no willingness to address the underlying problems in our relationship. The fact that he didn't apologize or ask me why I didn't want to try again spoke volumes about how he viewed partnership. The last time I saw him, I went to pick up something I had left at his place. I apologized and told him, "I'm sorry it didn't work out, and I hope we can be friends." I still loved him in that moment, but kept it to myself because I knew he couldn't give me what I wanted or needed in a relationship. As I was leaving, he said, "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone what you did to me." I asked, "What did I do?" He responded, "You cheated on me." Hearing those words broke me. I told him, "That doesn't make sense. Is that a threat?" He said, "No, I'm not threatening you." And I was like, "You know what, ____, fuck off." And I left angry in tears. I never saw or spoke to him again. After the breakup, he involved other people, reaching out to my cousin about our breakup and having his friends stalk my socials. I removed all people from my socials related to my ex. He still follows my friends and my cousin. A year later, his friends have stalked me twice this year. So I blocked them because I didn't like that my ex isn't reaching out to me himself and used his friends to get information on me. He never once reached out to me. Last month, I found out through the app Mr. number that he had been seeing escorts before and during our relationship. I'm still processing this revelation, but it feels like it solidifies what I've known deep down. He wasn't capable of being the partner I needed. I loved him, and I still think about him every day. But I also know now that letting go of him was the best decision I could have made for myself. He started seeing someone who resembles me that he met from one of our mutual acquaintances. It's been a hard pill to swallow, and even harder because there's no point in calling him out on cheating on me. He'll deny it, and he has always been controlling the narrative about me. No one would believe me, and he made sure I would be struggling emotionally after leaving him. Story number 2. Girlfriend cheated but still wants to be together? My 24M relationship hasn't felt right for the past month, and I couldn't put a finger on it. She, 25F, has male friends, but she was getting very close to a male coworker. I let it slide because she had my total loyalty and trust. My past ex-girlfriend had a male best friend, but there were no issues. So why should I suspect? I have been traveling for most of the year. Most of it was for work, and recently it was to spend time with family. The distance really got to us. She cheated, and I understand. We are visiting my family on another state, and during this time for the past 3 days her coworker has called each day to talk for over an hour. That was the huge red flag for me about the connection between them. I never felt the need to check her phone, but for the first time I did. They had been talking way more than her and I, and sending good morning and good night texts. The last one being him sending a kissing emoji during a good night text about 2 weeks ago. I questioned her love for me. She said of course she did. We talked for an hour or two about what we're doing wrong in our relationship and how I drove her away. Then she says that's why she's been petty over the last month, but I didn't initially press on about it. Ugh, hi. We talked maybe an hour more. She really sweet-talked me and reassured me how much she loves me and how much she wants to start a family. I was still in the bargaining stages of grief. So we were mainly talking about how we would make our relationship better. She sounded so sweet about us. I still didn't have confirmation about her cheating, but our conversation and sympathy toward each other was so comforting that I still wanted a relationship with her. However, I didn't feel right after our conversation. I didn't get confirmation from herself that she cheated. And at that time, I didn't want that confirmation because she is genuinely the sweetest person I know, and she has a gem of a personality. Yet, I didn't feel satisfied, and as time continued, I just felt this crushing weight of distrust. On top of that, it was making me so confused how reassured she was in our relationship and how we are soulmates. I started hurting emotionally really badly. She could tell I was struggling with how I felt about her. She would hug and caress me but would stay silent. Then she asked me how I felt. I told her I felt so confused about the way she was acting for the past month, and how, at this moment, she could just treat everything as being normal. She said it's easy to forget about your partner when they're not there. I told her it doesn't make what she did right. Then she said she has had a lot of practice hiding her emotions and wanting to just be happy. This broke me, yet also gave me such a sense of relief because I have closure and my emotional turmoil is not dragging on so heavily. However, how she has been handling my confrontation has broken my mind. I just don't understand. Through this ordeal, she's been telling me how I'm her soulmate. I love her so much and maybe could have gotten past this, but how she handled admitting her infidelity is so worrisome. She didn't even apologize. She is now moping because she knows I know for sure now. Maybe earlier she was thinking that I was thinking she didn't cheat. I just see it as a huge red flag that for the past few weeks she could treat me with so much love like nothing happened and not showing any guilt during our anniversary trip. How could we be right for each other if she could lie and pretend like she hadn't cheated? This instantly ended my grieving as I cannot trust her enough for her to even directly admit or apologize about cheating. If someone can lie this well, there is no way I could trust her going forward. TLDR, I feel like I could have forgiven my cheating girlfriend if she admitted to cheating herself. Story number 3. For years down the drain, I, 22F, found out my boyfriend, 24M, has been unfaithful and lying to me for God knows how long. So I was at his house doing homework, and his phone was next to me as he was in deep sleep. I stopped looking at his phone for a little over a year now because he doesn't check mine, and I thought we grew out of that childish phase of paranoia. Anyways, he got a text message, and the phone was faced up. I just looked to see who it was, and it was a girl's name. Let's call her Penny. Anyway, I was confused because Penny was a friend he hasn't hung out with since we first started dating, so I didn't know they talk. I opened the message, and it was just a single text from her and no previous conversation. I thought it was strange and decided to go to recently deleted messages, and then I find they've been talking for a long time. Unfortunately, recently deleted messages disappear after 30 days, so all I saw was a month before, but it was constant messaging the whole month. And from the messages, they have met up multiple times and hung out. The fucked up part is he'd message her before he'd message me to see if I'm up at 1 or 2 a.m. I don't live with him. So now I'm assuming the worst cause there are messages where they say, I'm leaving the house, me too, etc. Anyways, it only gets worse. I decide to look at the recently deleted messages, and another girl's name pops up that I do not know at all. Let's call her Jenny. The message was sent from him to her, and he said, I am glad that I stopped by to see you because I didn't know how much I missed you until I laid eyes on you, and I was mesmerized all over again and couldn't stop smiling for the life of me. Genuinely. What the fuck? I thought I was being pranked. She liked the message, and then he texted her again last Saturday at 12 a.m. when I was hanging out with my friends. When I confronted him, I asked him if he had anything to tell me. He said, Oh, I saw Penny today. Then I asked again anything else. He said, Well, I've been talking to her recently. I asked him a final time, that's all? He said yes, and I asked him if he valued our relationship, and he said he does. Then I showed him Jenny's text, and he went silent. I asked who she was. He said an old co-worker. I asked him what year they worked together. He said 2019 before us. That was another chance I gave him, and he lied. I saw group chats with him, Jenny, and his old boss and co-worker from his last job before this current one. I took him to that job interview. He barely worked there for a year. So when I told him, I know you're lying, he confessed, saying she's a co-worker he had a crush on. A crush? While you are in long-term committed relationship. He said it started one day when he and I had a fight on the phone while he was at work, and then he confided in her, and then she started flirting, and he reciprocated back. And he saw recently because she told him he should visit when he quit that job, so he did. Then he messaged her that. I'm super blindsided because I genuinely that we were at a happy, healthy place. I'm so messed up from this because I've been cheated before on the relationship before him, and it was another long-term relationship. So now I just can't help but think I'm an idiot for choosing these men. I also signed up for therapy. I've always needed it for other reasons. But this is my last straw. I can't hold myself up together anymore. We had a plan. He was the one who initiated it all. Buying a house, getting engaged, married, then kids. Ugh, I'm such an idiot for believing it. I genuinely don't understand how and why this happened because I thought we were happy. I told him it's over, but he won't stop blowing up my phone and coming to my house with flowers. I don't reply or pick up his calls. It's been days, however, last night, I went out to dinner, and he went to my house and kept blowing up my phone. So after dinner, I told him to meet me at a local bar, so I could tell him to stop harassing me and leave me alone, and we aren't getting back together. He keeps pleading for another chance, and how it's all a mistake he made. And not to give up on us, but he gave up when he decided to do all that. I just know I'll never see him the same or love him the way I used, and I'll just be resentful. I wish none of this happened because he's my best friend, but it did. He said he'll do anything, go to therapy. He says he's fighting for us. But that's the thing, we didn't need this fight if you were just loyal. The fact I had to find out, and you would have never told me, and mind you kept lying about your stories. His words mean nothing to me because how can I know it's ever true? I'm not an idiot. No one messages someone like that unless the relationship has gotten to that level. They probably hooked up after work or in his car or whatever. He denies doing anything sexual with them, but I don't believe it. He kept lying. Story number 4. Ex probably cheated on me, then tried to cheat on his new wife with me. So me and my ex broke off about April this year, and we were on and off for like 2 years. About less than 2 months after the breakup, I heard he got engaged. Now, a few months later, I heard through a co-worker whose sibling is married to my ex's sibling that he met her way back around January, and he started talking to her. In January, we were still together, having arguments more frequently. I had also just started my semester, So I saw less and less of him while he worked full time. So he pretty much did cheat on me, and I got to find that out way after I had moved on from him and have a BF now. What kind of scared me up a little bit was he was always against cheating, would constantly talk shit about coworkers cheating on their spouses with people at work, etc. Fast forward to about a month ago or more. I'm not sure when it was, but it was definitely in October. I had to unblock him and talk to him about work-related stuff, and I complained him people in his department don't want to work, and they just don't do shit. He started complimenting me on my work ethic, etc., and then randomly threw in if I want to go get food with him. At this place, we always used to get food from cause he liked it a lot. I was like, whoa, buddy, you're married now and I have a boyfriend. It's not okay for us to go get food together, or even talk after how our relationship ended. I tried to change the subject, and he went back to it and started talking about the crazy shit I do, etc. Toys with controls outside just to tease him, etc. And I honestly don't know why I didn't block him. Wasn't done about the work stuff, but probably should have blocked him right there and then. Then he started saying, I want to see you. Let's meet up, etc. Then he went and said, I want to be in bed with you. I miss you and your crazy shit. At that point, I was just in my car staring in disbelief at my phone. How he really did turn out to be a cheater. How he was literally trying to cheat on his wife with me. The same wife who probably has no idea I exist, nor that we were together when they got together. It kind of felt like some kind of closure. Finally being able to see how shit of a person he is, to add to his toxicity. I told him that what we had was good at times and at times not. And he actually said, we can always go back to how it was. I'm sorry, but no. I was in a shit mental health because of it and him. It was toxic AF, and I never want to go back to that. Then proceeded to tell him to never talk to me about this ever again. Only work-related stuff. I don't appreciate hearing about this, and I don't want to. He lost me long ago. His loss and his problem, he didn't move on. To respect his new wife and not cheat on her. Not to do what the other co-workers he always talked shit about were doing. He responded with, I'm sorry. If you ever want to meet up, just message me. Just know I want to. Funny how a person I believed was an honest man turned out to be just like the people he hated. A cheater is always a cheater, huh? I'd just like to note, I can't tell his wife anything as much as I actually do want to reveal how her husband is a cheating bastard, because we both come from different communities and religions, where in both it's obviously not accepted to date outside of the religion/community. So if I told her and shit got back around to my family, they'd most likely cut me out, and I'm just a poor college student who's trying to survive the shit economy. Story number 5. Boyfriend 29M of 7 years cheated on me, 28F. Is there any chance of recovery? My boyfriend 29M and I, 28F, have been together for nearly 7 years. We live together, have cats together, our families are intertwined, and until recently, we've had a healthy and loving relationship. We've had a lot of peace in our relationship lately, and earlier this year, we started to talk about getting engaged. Everything changed in the spring of this year. In March, he planned and booked a boys' trip to Colombia without telling or inviting me. I felt upset and insecure, especially because one of the friends he went on this trip with is a serial cheater, and the other friend is addicted to prostitutes. But my boyfriend is an honest and loyal person, so I trusted him to act appropriately. So during the first week of May, he went to Colombia, and from May to December, we've had a long-distance relationship. Prior to May, we've never been apart from each other, so this was our first time doing long distance. The first day after he returned from Colombia, he called me and tried to break up with me over the phone. It literally came out of nowhere. He said he wanted to break up because he felt that I made all the decisions in our relationship. He had no control over his life, and he was scared of the affordability issues that came along with dating me. I have substantial student debt. He said going to Colombia made him aware of these problems because life is so much easier down there. He's never brought up these issues with me before, so I didn't even know they were problems. I fought for him to stay with me, and I promised I would be better to him and less controlling. This was the start of the worst summer I've ever had in my life. I called him every day, but he would either dodge my calls or tell me he didn't want to talk to me. He would start fights out of nowhere. He would be condescending to me over the phone. He would tell me that none of the people in his life, his family and friends, liked me or supported our relationship. He said I was paranoid, aggressive, insecure, and a bad partner, even though I don't feel I'm any of these things. And he said he doesn't feel the same way about me anymore. He's never been mean to me before, but he treated me terribly over the summer. I still loved him and wanted to work on my relationship with him. We decided to take a trip to see each other this month, November. I was on his phone and came across his messages with a girl named Alejandra. He confessed that he met a girl in Colombia. They slept together twice during his trip, and he's been in a relationship with her since May. Alejandra is 22. She has a 2-year-old daughter, and she lives in poverty. My boyfriend was sending her money throughout the summer. He was paying for Spanish lessons so he could communicate with her. They would audio and video call several times a week, and they texted each other every day. They would send each other pictures/selfies and would talk about intimate things like their values, dreams, and their families. In addition to Alejandra, he also confessed that for the past year or so, he's been going to strip clubs and getting lap dances without telling me. All of his friends knew he was cheating, and no one told me. They all blocked me on social media the day I found out about the cheating. He says he doesn't fully understand why he cheated on me. He thinks it could be lust, impulsivity, feeling like he lacked control in his life, receiving validation from another woman, having low self-esteem, and feeling unhappy, unfulfilled, or bored in our sexual and emotional relationship. Aside from the cheating, the other issue he developed is that he can't stop lying to me. He used to be such an honest and transparent person, but he told me that ever since he cheated, he's created a web of lies, and he finds it easier to lie to me than to tell me the truth. When I found out about the cheating, I broke up with him, but we still talk every day. He was my best friend, and I can't let go of him. He's the only person I've ever dated, and he's the only person I want to be with. I wanted to marry him. We've grown up together and built a life together. He was there for me when my dad tragically passed away 3 years ago. And I'm scared that at this age, I won't find someone else I'm as compatible with or I love as deeply. I also recognize that there are problems in his life that severely affect him. He didn't receive emotional support from his parents while growing up. He was frequently bullied. He was arrested and jailed at 17. He developed a porn addiction at a very young age that still affects him today. And he's battled depression and low self-esteem the past 2 years. My boyfriend and I are still long distance, so we're living apart. He's blocked Alejandra, is now in therapy, writes in his journal daily, and promises to get rid of toxins in his life, e.g. alcohol, bad friends, etc. He claims to be remorseful. He says he's still in love with me, and he often breaks down in tears when we're on the phone. He also thinks he's not worthy of my forgiveness. He doesn't think I'll ever trust him again, and he's interested in being with other women to see if he can find someone he's more compatible with than me. I know people are going to tell me to cut him out, but it's really not that simple. He's been in my life for 7 years, he's my best friend, and he's the only person I've ever been in love with. He's still the only person I want to be with. I'm wondering whether we can bounce back from this. I know some people say, once a cheater, always a cheater. But is it possible he's a good person who's made a series of bad decisions? Is it appropriate to break up for a period of time, perhaps 1 to 2 years, then later get back together once he's proven to be honest and trustworthy again? Will the trust issues affect us for the rest of our lives? Or can we grow from this and become stronger? Do people deserve second chances? How can I learn to forgive him? TLDR. My boyfriend of 7 years cheated on me physically plus emotionally and can't stop lying to me. Since I caught him cheating, he's expressed remorse and started therapy. I feel like I can't let go of him, and we still talk every day. I'm wondering whether people can truly change, if trust can be rebuilt, and if my relationship has a future. Story number 6. The root cause of serial cheating. I'm 45M. Happily married 22 years to my spouse, 45F. I have never cheated, and my wife has never cheated, but we both have quite a few friends who have experienced infidelity. Now, when I say I've never cheated, I mean I've never come remotely close to cheating. It just hasn't crossed my mind. I've been cheated on once, back in high school by my long-term high school girlfriend, and it was admittedly horrible. I made the decision right then at 17 years of age to never do that to someone else, let alone someone I cared for at some point. My fascination in cheating is based on my experience years ago and the following. I have a friend who caught his wife cheating because she gave him an STD. I've known them both for 15 years, and we've spent a lot of time together. She has never seemed overtly sexual in any way, always kind of quiet, seemed level-headed. While I don't know the day-to-day, their marriage always seemed very average. They have no kids, and they don't want any. He's occasionally confided about a minor issue here or there, and his wife would do the same with my wife. They were having sex regularly, posts about date night on FB, etc. They are not trying to reconcile, and they are getting divorced. He recently showed me the text messages between his wife and her APs, plural, 6 over 20 years, and it was shocking for many reasons, mostly because she seemed to get off on humiliating him. From his POV, the most hurtful thing about the cheating wasn't that they had sex. It was that she routinely did things with her multiple APs that she refused to do with him unless it was to secretly humiliate him. She normally insisted that he wear a condom even though she was on birth control because she didn't trust only one method of contraception, but she would routinely have sex with her APs without a condom, and she would let them finish inside of her. Her MO was to then come home from dates and immediately initiate sex without a condom with her husband. He said this was the only time in their 20-year marriage she would consistently climax through penetration. He noted what she felt, and how turned on she seemed from the start, and just thought it was because she was so into him. He now thinks this was to both humiliate him and to cover herself if she accidentally got pregnant. She didn't like giving him oral very often, even though that was his favorite thing to do. She would occasionally oblige him, but he said she looked like she had no idea what she was doing. She looked disinterested. She never let him finish in her mouth, and so it always quickly moved to sex. She never let them try anal sex, even though he'd broached the subject several times. What he finds most hurtful is her actions with her APs seem to focus on all the things she refused to do with him. From her text, "You have no idea how much I love sucking your giant cock. I can't wait for you to finish in my mouth again. And I come so hard when you fuck my ass." Then there were a whole lot of text messages where she just made fun of her husband with her APs. She went on about how clueless he was and how he could never satisfy her. How much more she was into her AP's body, penis, how he was so much better at doing X, Y, Z than her husband. I didn't see this coming. My friend didn't see this coming. His experience has sent me on some weird fascination with why do people like her serially cheat. He's crushed because he realizes her cheating had nothing to do with loneliness or what he was or wasn't giving her, and everything to do with she gets off on his humiliation. If they fought or didn't get along, I guess I could possibly understand, but according to him and her, via conversations with my wife, they got along well and seemed happy. His wife never mentioned anything out of the ordinary to my wife, nothing. And so, she's having a hard time wrapping her brain around it too. When I read stories about serial cheaters on Reddit, I see a common theme. These people get off on the humiliation and power over others. The person they are cheating with and the sex are just the vehicles through which they can inflict this humiliation and power on another human being. And it makes it all that much better if that person is innocent, nice, and clueless. They make up all kinds of excuses to justify their behaviors, but these are always transparent. People assume infidelity is about the other person or sex, and so say things like, "Why don't you just divorce yourself if you're unhappy before you have sex with someone else?" This missed the point of why serial cheaters cheat. They get off on the lying and manipulation, and without someone to inflict humiliation on, they can't get their fix. It's like drug to them, and this is why they will never stop being serial cheaters. This is why reconciliation fails so often. People get off on hurting other people without remorse, and that is the definition of psychopathy. He's not on Reddit. People know they are divorcing, but no one knows why, and no one else knows about the contents of these texts. He's very guarded about sharing anything because he feels humiliated. I'm strongly suggesting he seek therapy. Thank you for sticking with me through this story. It wasn't easy to share, but I hope it resonates with anyone who's been in a similar situation. Remember, you deserve love, honesty, and respect in every relationship, and it's okay to walk away from anything or anyone that doesn't align with your worth. If this story spoke to you, please like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories and reflections. Until next time, take care of yourselves and prioritize your peace. See you in the next video.